Hey everyone, today I want to share a story that perfectly captures the power of a helping hand. Once upon a time, in a peaceful village surrounded by lush green forests, there lived a young man named Araf. Araf was known for his hard work, determination, and kindness. He was always ready to help others, whether it was a neighbor in need or a friend facing difficulties. One year, the village was struck by a terrible drought. The crops withered, the rivers dried up, and the villagers were struggling to find enough food and water. Araf, like the rest of the villagers, was deeply affected by the drought. His family too was struggling, and every day felt like a challenge. One evening, as Araf walked through the village, he noticed an elderly woman sitting outside her small cottage, looking very sad. She was Mrs. Sharma, a widow who lived alone and had no children to support her. Araf knew that Mrs. Sharma had already lost most of her crops due to the drought, and she didn't have enough food or water to last through the coming days. Feeling concerned for her, Araf walked up to Mrs. Sharma and asked, "How are you doing, Mrs. Sharma? You seem worried." Mrs. Sharma sighed and said, "Oh, Araf, I'm doing the best I can, but I fear I won't make it through this drought. I have no food left and my water supply is almost gone. I don't know what to do." Araf's heart ached for her, and without thinking twice he said, "Don't worry, Mrs. Sharma. I'll make sure you have everything you need. I'll help you through this." The next morning, Araf woke up early and set out to gather what he could. He went to the neighboring village and spoke with the farmers, asking them to share some of their food and water. Though they too were struggling, they understood the importance of supporting one another. They gave him as much as they could spare. Araf then returned to Mrs. Sharma's cottage and carried the supplies to her doorstep. "Here you go, Mrs. Sharma. I've brought you some food and water to help you get through the next few days," Araf said with a smile. Mrs. Sharma's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Araf, you've done more than I could have ever asked for. You've saved me. I don't know how to thank you." Araf simply replied, "You don't need to thank me. We're all in this together. When we help each other, we make our community stronger." Over the next few weeks, Araf continued to visit Mrs. Sharma every day, bringing her food, water, and anything else she needed. As the drought wore on, the village struggled more and more, but Araf's support never wavered. He also helped other villagers, making sure no one went without. His kindness and selflessness became a beacon of hope for everyone around him. Eventually, the rains returned, and the village began to recover from the drought. Crops grew, rivers flowed once again, and the villagers had enough to eat and drink. Mrs. Sharma, now in better spirits, smiled as she looked at the flourishing land and the people who had come together to support each other through difficult times. One day, Mrs. Sharma approached Araf and said, "You know, Araf, your support has meant more to me than I can express. You taught me that even in the hardest times, we can rely on each other. The strength of a community is built on the support we give one another." Araf smiled humbly and replied, "Support isn't about big gestures or grand acts. It's about being there for others, even in small ways. It's about showing up when someone needs help and offering what you can. That's how we make a difference." So the moral of the story: support is the foundation of strong communities. It's not always about giving in large amounts, but about being there for each other, offering help when it's needed most, and lifting one another up during challenging times. When we support others, we create a circle of kindness and strength. Thanks for watching, and remember, even the smallest act of kindness can make a big difference.